Welcome to the Sedona International Film Festival. We're coming to you live from the Sedona Rouge Hotel. I'm Carol Kahn, and first we'd like to thank our sponsors, Black Magic Design, Digitech, and of course the Sedona Rouge Hotel. And joining me now is Tracy with the film Dawnland. So thank you so much for joining us. And your film is, I really want you to describe your film because it's something that shocked me. I didn't realize that this transpired.
Sure. Well, Dawnland is a really beautiful story that features courageous Wabanaki people sharing some important history that not many people have heard about, as it turns out, as you said, and that is of removing Native children from their homes through forcible adoption or foster care. And our story is about the very first government-sanctioned truth and reconciliation process, which occurred in Maine and Wabanaki territory.
How did you even find out about this?
Yeah, well, there's some women in the community who've been working a long time towards the work of truth and reconciliation, and they work for an organization called Wabanaki Reach, and they reached out to our co-directors, Adam Mazo and Pender-Cudlip, to ask if they would just help document the process. And when Adam and Ben showed up and they started documenting what was happening and hearing the truth-telling that was going on and hearing the first-hand accounts from the people who had been survivors through the process, they realized, oh my gosh, this is a really important story to tell. So it was about a 5-year process, and the community has been just an integral part of making the film happen itself. But really, they were the ones who reached out first to ask us to be part of the process.
Now, this was kind of like a hidden, nobody really talked about it. It was done, nobody talked about it for quite some time. So why was that process so long, and why didn't people actually come to the forefront to really talk?
Yeah, well, I think this country has a complicated history with Native Americans, and, there's a long trajectory of genocide and forced removals. And so I think it's not necessarily a history that's easy to talk about or comes to the forefront of people's minds or conversations. And it's not found in history books as well. And so the process took a long time because it was really community generated, and as people found their own strength and healing, they're able to come forward, but that takes a certain time and a certain just resilience, I would say. But also the TRC, or the Truth and Reconciliation process in Canada, was really a huge inspiration for things to move faster on these fronts.
So were any of the families or children reconciled? They were reconciled because of this particular program?
Yeah, it's interesting. And just people coming forward and sharing their history. For the first time, 70-year-old women who had never told anybody about being removed from their family or the abuse that they endured in adoptive homes, coming forward, again, for the first time in their lives and sharing these stories, I think brought them closer with their biological families, but also enabled people to find their families for the first time. Also, taking this film across country, we've had hundreds of screenings. It's just been such an honor to see how people respond to this story. We've been across the country, and people are coming out from the woodworks and saying, I was taken, and really trying to start that conversation about how do you come home, how do you go home. That's been amazing to see, just that this film is inspiring those kinds of conversations.
I can't even imagine, as you were just talking about that, I got goosebumps thinking, I just can't imagine somebody being taken from their home and having to start a life somewhere else and not talk about it. Like, I just cannot imagine. Like, if anybody took my daughter, I don't even know what would I do about that. So, I'd probably hunt them down.
Yeah, there's stories where people were playing in their front yard and a car would come up and just take the children and leave a note, or sometimes not even leave a note. And so, yes, as a mother, just the horror of having to deal with that and then not having really any recourse. That was a common story.
What was, I mean, I know you said that you travel around the country and basically you're talking about this. So does this particular subject and, the whole entire film bring about to you, I mean, you're making it known across the country. So it's not just in one little place. Now everybody is starting to, understand and talk about it. So what does that bring for you?
Well, it's really important as Indigenous people. It's critical that we are seen and that we are heard and that we have an opportunity to change that narrative of how histories have been told. And so for me, it's a validation of we are still here. We're thriving. We're not just surviving, we're thriving. And, we have so much to look forward to. And this film is just part of that. It's part of the healing. It's part of that potential process of seeing a brighter future.
Mm-hmm. And being part of that community, do you feel like you belong? I mean, I hear, you're talking about that, and I know, what you just stated, but do you actually feel like you belong, to, our country or here?
That's a really good question because we're in a complicated time, right? And I think there's so many questions that are being challenged, especially for us as people of color, that, do we belong? Are we welcome? And it's the work that has to be done. It's a new reality, I think, that's forming in terms of who is recognized in this country as American or who makes up the history of what is understood about this country. But I definitely do feel as though I belong. I'm this, I'm Native American, African American, Hungarian, Jew, French. I feel like I am America. I am this.
You are the melting pot.
Yeah, I am this melange of identities and culture and history, and proud of all of it. And being part of this project with Dawnland just helps to reinforce that I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to all of my ancestors who've survived multiple types of genocides, so I can be here today and help shed some light on truth.
Well, it's actually a gift. I think you've been given a gift to communicate that to other people, and also just to realize, who you are, yourself. So I think it's just a really good thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Your film, you have you shown your film already?
Sure. We had a sold-out screening yesterday here at Sedona, and it was amazing. There was actually an older gentleman who was born on the Cheyenne Indian Reservation and was forced into boarding school. He was in the audience, and he comes to this film festival on a yearly basis, and he was just so grateful to have seen Dawnland and have a conversation. I think he's going to help us screen the film in Minneapolis this fall. So it's fun to make new connections. There's a lot of people here at this festival from the East Coast, and so I've been having quite a few conversations after a screening just about, wow, I'm from New England. I never knew about this history before. Thank you. Yeah, those types of interactions. So it's been a lot of fun. And tomorrow we show again at 10 a.m.
Awesome. And where was the film actually shot?
The film was shot in Maine in Wabanaki territory.
Mm-hmm. And again, you would not think that would be, an area that you would find things like this happening.
Yeah, and it's... this history is happening now, today, too. So it's certainly something of the past, but it's also something that's happening, especially in the Midwest today. So all those brave, courageous people who stood up in Maine to share their stories, they're really opening the door for more understanding across the country.
Right, and more people to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention, and thank you for bringing the film here. So, and how could people find out more about the film?
Yes, so you can go to dawnland.org. We have ways to get involved, how to take action, including a teacher's guide that's a 125-page curriculum designed by Dr. Mishi Lesser. She's on our team. And we've been doing teacher training. So especially if people are interested in some teacher workshops around genocide or Native American history. We are here for you, and you can find that again on dawnland.org.
Dawnland.org.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for being with us. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. It's really good talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and good luck with your film as well.
Thank you.
And we will be back with more from the Sedona International Film Festival after this.